Two. Mic testing. 1, 2. Cái này
Body, I'm just giving us a moment to settle down so we can officially begin. If you're next to somebody and they're not yet seated, could you gently tap them and ask them to please take their seats? Yeah. Oh, all right, I will. All right. All right, let's begin. Good morning, everyone. Karibuni sana. Welcome to STEMtastic Adventures Africa. Whether you've come from just down the road, across Kenya, flown a couple of continents to get here, we are so delighted to have you. And I am so delighted to see all of you already seated, ready for us to begin. We are absolutely thrilled to welcome you to STEMtastic Adventures Africa, to a week that promises to be full of learning, lots of inspiration, and lots of networking, and I am hoping that is what all of us will get to do here. I will try that again in just a few of the beautiful languages that are represented in this room. I may butcher some of them, but you will forgive me because this was a collaboration between myself, YouTube, and my chat GPT. Karibu, Siamukela, Sangbonani, Takulandirani, Ibedina. Bienvenue, welcome. Whatever language you speak, I want you to feel most welcome, feel very warmly invited to this space. Before we proceed, please allow me to observe protocol and recognize the distinguished guests that will be joining us throughout this week, beginning with this morning. First, I would like to express my huge gratitude to the government of Kenya and the Ministry of Education, as well as the people of Kenya who are hosting this event. You will allow me to step back on stage because I was so excited to speak to you. I stepped off the stage and forgot my slides were up there. All right. On screen, you can see the Ministry of Education, Kenya, Ambassador Professor Julius Kibet Bitok, who is the Principal Secretary Basic Education, as well as Julius Migos Ogamba, who is the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Education, Kenya. We are honored that they will be joining us later today for the official opening, which will be at 2 p.m., and I will be sharing more details about that. In the room with us, and I am especially excited to welcome these guests, are several ministers of education who have traveled from across the continent to be with us. I have Honorable Pierre Gomez, who is the Minister of Higher Education, Research, Science, and Technology, the Gambia. Please wave back. I also have in the room Honorable Jessie Kabwila, who is the Minister of Higher Education from Malawi. Thank you so much. I also have Honorable Owen Sabelong Kumalo, who is the Minister of Education and Training from Eswatini. Ministers, thank you so much for your leadership and for honoring our invitation to join us for STEMtastic Adventures Africa. Besides the ministers I have just mentioned, we are also honored to be joined by a number of ministries of education from all over the continent. And on screen, you can see all the countries whose ministries are present in the room with us. Can I get a round of applause for all of them, please? If I have missed anyone by name, I would have loved to go down that list, but time is not on our end. Me and know that you are all warmly welcomed and deeply appreciated. Thank you so much for being with us. All right, I would like to begin this in a great spirit, so I will ask Mr. Makanda from STEMtastic to please join us for an opening prayer. As he's walking towards the stage, could I please ask everyone to be upstanding?
Let us believe and pray. Father, in the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we come before you this morning with thanksgiving as we start off this very, very important symposium, the first one to be held in Africa. Father, as we start off, we want to invite you in this particular activity. We commit every person here unto you, that Father, we pray you are going to give us knowledge, wisdom, and to share best practices across the world. And this is for the sake of the future generations. Father, we pray that, Lord, even as we proceed, you are going to give us good health, so that, Father, we go through this particular activity successfully. And when all this is done, we shall remember to thank you because you have done it. It will be due to your grace. For this, I pray, trusting and believing in Jesus' name. Amen. You may take your seats.
Thank you. So sorry, I will ask you to stand once again. Don't consider it too much a task. It is, we are working out, we are getting ready for the week. So please arise for the anthems. We will be beginning with the national anthem of Kenya, the East African anthem, and then the African Union.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Let us all unite and celebrate together the victories won for our liberation. Let us dedicate ourselves to rise together to defend our liberty and unity. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa a tree of life. Let us all unite and sing together to uphold the bonds that frame our destiny. Let us dedicate ourselves to fight together for lasting peace and justice on earth. All sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun and flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life.
Thank you so much. You may take your seats. All right. Now, please allow me to properly introduce myself. My name is Mary Effie Akinyi. I am the Director, Africa Region and Global Communications and Engagement for the Education Alliance, who are the main hosts of this symposium. So sorry about that. Who are the main hosts for this symposium, and we are delighted to welcome you. Just before we begin, I would like to also mention that I am honored, and my organization is as well, to host you for this symposium alongside our incredible partners, the Center for Mathematics, Science and Technology Education in Africa, STEMtastic. I am also delighted to welcome our second co-host, the African Union Development Agency, AUDA NEPAD, for what I believe will be a truly STEMtastic week. In the room with us today, we have not just policymakers, we have practitioners, we have implementers, we have educators, we have students, and all other important education stakeholders. And so as we are continuing with this program, I'd just like to keep you informed of that. So whoever is seated next to you, make sure you make some time to say hello to them, get to know them, and maybe ask a few things about the work they do. All right. It is now my pleasure to invite to the stage representatives from our co-hosts, our hosts of this event. I would like to ask Mrs. Jacinta Akatsa, who is the CEO, STEMtastic, to please join me on stage. As she's coming, I would also like to ask Mr. Anthony Bloom, who is the Executive Director of the Education Alliance, to also join me. And then I would also love to have the lovely Dr. Barbara Glover, who is a Program Officer, Integrated Vector Management at AUDA NEPAD, to also join me on stage. I have been standing for a while, so I will ask to also sit with my fellow co-hosts because I would like to have a fireside chat. I think before we begin this event, it is important that we set the stage, learn a few things here and there about what inspired this event from our lovely hosts, and also get to know what their hopes are for this event and its participants. All right, I have already introduced them, but I will ask to have the mic passed, and then I will share my mic with Dr. Barbara. I have a few questions for them, and I am hoping by the end of our little Q&A, you will have gotten some more context about the event. All right, Mrs. Akatsa, good morning. I would like to know what inspired your organization to co-host the STEMtastic Adventures Africa Symposium.
Thank you, Effie. Good morning, everyone. I'm really excited to see all of you here. The greatest inspiration, really, and the excitement that we have is to be able to see a symposium that has never been done before. So this is like an inaugural one in Africa. And the greatest, I think, inspiration in this room, and what really made us want to host this, was we believed that it would create an opportunity to bring different faces from Africa together, so that we could be able to really create a community where we would be able to exchange ideas and see how and what comes out of this.
So much. All right. Oh, sorry. Please give her a round of applause. Mrs. Akata has passed the mic to Mr. Bloom. Mr. Bloom, we'd like for you to let us know what inspired your organization to host the STEMtastic Adventures Africa Symposium.
Thank you, Effie. So first of all, could I get everybody to say STEMtastic good morning? So when you leave this event, we will have created a new word that we would like to disseminate, so you could greet people with STEMtastic good morning. Would that be okay? So we are really excited that this is the first, as Dr. Akatsi and Dr. Barber will be talking about, the first time that the M Education Alliance has hosted a regional STEM education event. I founded the M Education Alliance when I was USAID's Education Technology Specialist in 2010. And since then, we have convened 15 global events, but this is our first regional event. The last two global events were focused on STEM, and we were fortunate to have our colleagues from SEMASTEA and AUDA NAPAD join us, where we conceived of the idea that we should really do a regional event. And so I want to applaud our honorable ministers that are here, delegates from Ministries of Education, and all protocol observed for our other guests here in regards to taking the time to travel to this event. Over the next 4 days, we're going to have lots of fun together. We are doing another regional event in a month that will be in Fiji. It will be the first Pacific Island STEM Education Conference. How many of you would like to join us in Fiji? Is there some reason why people haven't raised their hand? There will be information at our booth. And of course, we have our global event, and we have a number of friends that are in the audience that are either members of the M Education Alliance. We're the largest convening platform of development and donor agencies focused on education technology in low resource settings. We're increasingly interested in STEM education, so we're really excited to have this event over the next 4 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tony. Dr. Barbara, please let us know what inspired the AUDA NAPAD to co-host this symposium.
Thank you, Effie. So we joined the M Education Alliance in 2024, last year. For that was our inaugural event, our participation. Now the African Union is poised to look at how we can utilize science, technology, engineering, and mathematics to transform the continent. And so we are working towards initiatives that will provide those services to our AU member states. And this platform, last year when I joined in Washington, D.C., my mind was blown to what is happening on the continent that we weren't even aware of. And so we knew that bringing the event to the continent will showcase more projects and ideas and platforms that we are not aware of, and help us to also strengthen that advocacy as the African Union and its development agency. So we are very much happy to be aligned to this initiative, and we look forward to having a successful event.
Thank you so much. I will put Dr. Barbara on the spotlight once again. Dr. Barbara, my second question to you is, what does STEM education mean to you, whether that's personally or institutionally?
STEM education to me is making practical the everyday things that we do. When you go to the rural areas, when you go to our mothers in the villages, we don't call it STEM education, but there are certain practices that they do that is actually science, technology, and innovation. They will tell you when you're cooking certain meals, don't cover the pot, it's going to get slimy. These are things that are not documented by the STEM education. And so we wanted to look at how we can practically show what goes on the continent, making science more practical and home applicable than making it look so abstract. Maybe Africa is not ready to go to Mars yet, or to build huge rockets, or the huge things that are happening in more developed economies. But how can we utilize the basic science, technology, engineering, mathematics that we have currently to be able to address the challenges that we have? For instance, now the whole world is crazy about artificial intelligence. What is it to Africa? Are we going to be building cloud and computing facilities? Perhaps that's not where we are as a continent. So how do we then, what do we practically do to address our challenges? How do we utilize the innovations that the great minds, the young minds on the continent are using to address them? And I think that that's the opportunities that we have, that STEM education offers us to showcase to the world.
Lovely. I love that. She said there are things our mothers and grandmothers are doing in the village that are actually STEM, but have not been documented as such or communicated to us as such. As you're walking out of this room, I hope you're catching snippets of those really important bits and pieces that Dr. Barbara and my Tony and Mrs. Akata are pointing out, because those are some of the things we are hoping to highlight throughout the symposium. Dr. Barbara, I will ask you to pass the mic to Tony, because I have the same question for Tony. Tony, please let me know, what does STEM education mean to you personally or institutionally?
Okay, so personally, how many people in the room are interested in STEM? Raise your hand. So please look at a person who did not raise their hand and say, stop playing with your phone. Okay, it's just a test. So, okay, so I'm personally really excited by it. One of my favorite podcasts, science podcasts, is called Radiolab. Is anybody familiar with Radiolab? It's an amazing podcast. Here's my recommendation. Listen to the episode that's called Quantum Birds. That's an episode about how birds are able to navigate thousands of miles to the same. Once you listen to that episode, you're going to want to tell everybody about that episode. So Quantum Birds is the Radiolab episode. It's a great example of just, we want kids around the world to also be excited about science. And STEM is so broad-ranging. Foundational literacy, when I've met people and they say, oh, I work on foundational literacy, not STEM. And I'm like, your book could be about a young girl, maybe a Ms. Akinyi, who wants to be an astronaut in the future, right?
Yes.
There you go. So that's foundational literacy. I really like it when people say, we work on STEM but not foundational numeracy. And I'm like, there is an M in STEM. So the range of subjects that you could talk about STEM is really broad-ranging. I will be giving a presentation at this conference on the science of animal senses. So that's an example of how broad-ranging STEM is. So we want kids around the world to be as excited about STEM education as we are. And institutionally, what role can the M Education Alliance play with terrific co-hosts and representatives in this room to share that joy of learning?
Thank you so much, Tony. All right, I will ask the same question to Mrs. Akatsa. Mrs. Akatsa, what does STEM mean to you personally or institutionally?
Do you know, if it's very unfair to ask me that question when two very eloquent people have almost taken all the words from my mouth. So I'll try and see where I can fill in the gap. And I think I want to speak from the perspective of a teacher and an educationist, and also looking very realistically at this space that we are in terms of who we are as Africans and the continent. And I think basically, in addition to what the others have said, when we are looking at the young children as they are growing, and you're looking at these kids all the way from the foundational aspects, you see that they have an innate, an inborn curiosity to be able to understand their environment, to be able to maybe respond to the environment. They are in their own space extremely, through play, they're always creating, they're imaginative, and they're always doing and creating things. And the question now here is that maybe as educators, how do we harness this so that in their self-awareness of being able to see what is going on around them, they can see problems, they can see challenges, and they can create solutions because they are thinking and critically thinking about this is like this, maybe this is a challenge, and what would be the next thing? So maybe as we are working with these children as teachers and educators, we are using terms like critical thinking, we are using terms like problem solving, we are using aspects of innovation and creativity. But you know, this is what children are already doing at very, very early stages. So how do we build them? How do we sort of channel all this in such a way that these kids don't lose it at some point, maybe because in the pedagogy of teaching, we were not able to build on what they already have. So that maybe now maths goes north or south. Or maybe science becomes something that becomes, I don't want to use the word difficult as a perception. Where are we losing it as educators so that STEM now becomes something that is something that needs to be sorted by everybody else in the world by saying now we want to take off, see what we can do about STEM in our countries. So I think it's just about being conscious of how to develop these young children so that as they develop from their foundational to the tertiary levels, they are the ones that are now innovating and coming up with that opportunity to grow economies through all these things that we are talking about so that we can have peace also in our countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Akata. I'll ask you to stay with the mic. And while you stay with the mic, because I want you to go fast so they don't take away the words from you.
And I think she'll
All right,
complain.
Mrs. Akata said something that really stuck with me. She said, as we are raising children and as we are introducing them to STEM at that very, very early age, we want them, first of all, to be able to see problems, identify opportunities, and come up with solutions. That for me is what STEM is. It is the ability to see problems, identify opportunities in there, and then come up with the solutions to those challenges. She also said something that really stuck with me. She said, STEM is what the children are already doing. So why don't we build on it so that we do not lose them along the way? Math should not become difficult and science should not become something that belongs to the boys, you know? All right, Mrs. Akatsa, on to my next question. I would like to know, why do you think a Pan-African dialogue like this is so important, especially at this time?
I think why I feel it's extremely important is because Africa is one, much as, you know, we have our borders and our boundaries that make it difficult for us to interact. But we have different thoughts and ideas and things that are going on in our own countries in terms of policies and implementation. So this gives us an opportunity to cross those borders and bring our ideas together so that maybe we can move now to co-creation because we can think and share visions and come up with, you know, something that now is cross-cutting that is truly Pan-African. So just being able to share what is in our minds and being able to work and collaborate and co-create together.
Thank you so much. Please pass the mic to Tony. Tony.
Yes. What's the question, Effie? Oh, yeah.
Why do you think a Pan-African dialogue like this is so important at this time?
Well, first of all, I feel, thank you for your articulate observations, Dr. Akatsa, and Dr. Barbara are probably far more qualified to answer this question than I am. But I will tell you in the spirit of, I love the term Ubuntu in terms of interconnectedness, sharing information. It's a great term that really is the genesis of the Education Alliance, particularly with lower resources to be able to support a variety of education interests all around the world, quite frankly, but particularly now with some of the diminishment of international development funding. It's even more important for us to exchange good practices with each other, to avoid duplications of effort, to erode those brilliant silos of excellence so that we could share information with each other. I think that's a really important part of the mission of the Education Alliance and all our institutional members is to share good practices and then to work with our colleagues to help disseminate that even further.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for passing the mic to Dr. Barbara. Dr. Barbara, could you please share with us why do you think a Pan-African dialogue like this is so important right now?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Effie. So I've been working in the African Union the last 10 years, and I've had one too many dialogues where it's just talk. One thing I appreciate about the Education Alliance events is that it goes beyond talk. We see action on ground. We see practical experiences in the presentations that are made. And so bringing a dialogue like this where we have our honorable ministers, we have the innovators in the room, we have all the key actors in the ecosystem in the room. I think it's beautiful. I think it gives us the opportunity to harness what we want for Africa in terms of science, technology, and innovation. And that's something that I appreciate about some of these Pan-African dialogues. I think one major criticism I've seen a lot with the UN and the AU systems is people say, when are you going to do action? It's just talk, and policy. And so these platforms give us the opportunity to showcase what is happening on the continent, connect or policymakers to those that are implementing on the ground and address, you know, some of the issues that we've identified between policy development, implementation, and, you know, the outcomes of it.
Thank you so much. So Dr. Barbara has just challenged us. She has said Education Alliance events, and this is an Education Alliance event. So I'm going to challenge you all to go beyond the talk and get to the implementation. That is what I have gotten from Dr. Barbara's response just now. All right, on to my very last question, so they do not feel like I am keeping them here away from doing the work. All right, what is your hope for the participants of this symposium to walk away with? What are you hoping the participants of this event will walk away with?
Okay. I think my hope would be that beyond joining sessions and listening to conversations, you build networks. I think last year I was overwhelmed with the number of emails I got after the alliance work, with so many people seeking to work together and implement their projects, and it gave me a lot of positivity about, you know, things that we can do together. So I hope that you leave here with at least 3 contacts of people that you can work together with. I mean, you have the big people in the room, our ministers, the technocrats that work with them. Maybe you are implementing in certain key countries and you want to establish that. Don't leave here and then send an email. They're here. Speak to them over, you know, coffee breaks or whatever it is, exchange contacts and address some of the issues that you have, so that beyond this we can come here next year and say, look, we got this project or that project running because of this event.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Dr. Barbara said network. Live with at least 3 contacts. At the gate, before you leave, I will be asking for 3 contacts. All right. I will ask Tony. Tony, what are you hoping the participants of this event will walk away with?
Okay, so personally, I'm a total STEM nerd. So I'm really excited that my job could be at an event like this with so many of you. So we'll get great benefit from this event. If you're a presenter or an exhibitor, could you please stand so we could give you a round of applause? If you're a presenter at this event or an exhibitor, please stand. Thank you. Well, we thank you for traveling as far as you've traveled to be part of the event. At the M Education Alliance, we practice what we call extreme networking. The example is the first day of this event with our workshops and our STEM Education Village is designed to facilitate networking. If you're a presenter, you've gotten multiple emails from us telling you have 15 minutes, we recommend that you only speak for 8 minutes, and you have 7 minutes for Q&A, because no one who's created their great, brilliant presentation slides wants there to be no questions afterwards. So that's a really important part of it. And the last of which, we hope you'll join us on Friday for our networking in the wild at Ololua Forest, which is steps from here. So these are all designed for you to meet with each other. So we hope you'll take advantage of that.
Thank you, Tony. All right, Mrs. Akatsa, once again, I have gotten it to you last. I apologize, but please let me know, what is your hope that participants will walk out of this event with?
Thank you, Effie. My greatest hope is that we will all be inspired by being able to see what other people see from the different continents that we are, the different countries that we are from. But mainly as educationists, I think my greatest inspiration here is that in this particular symposium, we are able to see the relatedness between policy and implementation, policy and practice. Because many times we set very good policies, but getting down to where we call it grassroots in Kenya, the level of implementation now between the teacher and the child, and actually the implementation of STEM education, sometimes we don't see that. Is it possible that in this particular symposium today, we can see that connectedness and get inspired by that? Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much to all my plenaries. My panelists, I would ask that as they are walking off the stage, please give them a hearty round of applause. All right. All right. So, before we go on to do all those incredible things that we have been challenged to do today and throughout the event, I have a few housekeeping things just to keep us involved, but also let you know what happens after this. Sorry about that. All right. So first of all, everyone who has walked to me has asked me, where are the sessions happening? Where are the presentations happening? So if you walk out of this hall is called Sugiyama. So if you walk out of Sugiyama through that door or this door, there is a building to my right. To my right, it has 4 rooms, all the 4 rooms where the breakout sessions will be happening. Chui and Dovu are on the ground floor, and Simba and Kobe are on the first floor. I might have mixed those up. Just look, because they are clearly labeled. You should be able to see them. I also have an incredible group of student fellows who you might have met during registration. If you did not meet them, where did you register? But yeah, you might have met them at registration. They will be at that desk throughout the event to answer any questions, let you know where a room is if you're not sure, and maybe just overall assist you to navigate this space as we are going around. All right, lastly, before I finish, we heard from our co-hosts, all the partners of this event, but there is an incredible group of people that I would like to especially appreciate, and I will ask you to give a huge round of applause to. These are our sponsors. Please give them a hearty round of applause. Thank you so much. All the sponsors are at a booth in the STEM Village. The STEM Village will be happening exactly where I pointed. I'm hoping I'm pointing in the right direction. But yes, right next to the registration desk, there is a number of exhibits set up there. Most of the sponsors are there, but if you take a walk down that road behind me, there are also a number of really incredible exhibitors set up there. So you will have an opportunity to meet all of them during the STEM Village today. The STEM Village is happening from 10 a.m. to 4:00 p.m. Actually 5 p.m. And we're hoping you can stop by, have a chat with the exhibitors, get to know some more about their work. And these are some of those exhibitors. Not all of them may be on here, but please do take a picture, have a look, stop by their exhibits and say hi to them. I am quickly going through this because we are way behind in time. We will be having an official welcome address from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. hosted by representatives from the Ministry of Education in Kenya. We'll have Julius Migos Ogamba, who is the Cabinet Secretary. And then we will also have the Ambassador Professor Julius Kibet Bitok, who is the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education in Kenya. Other really incredible sessions I think you should be on the lookout for are our opening plenary panel happening tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. We also have a respect plenary and reception happening from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. There will be lovely food, great entertainment. You do not want to miss this. And then we also have an incredible plenary happening on day 3 in the morning. So day 3 is the 24th, Thursday. That plenary will be happening from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and we'll be hearing from some of our policymakers about the intersection of policy and practice. So one of the things Mrs. Akatsa mentioned when she was giving us her responses. All right, symposium etiquette. I will ask you to please be STEMtastic to each other. I was going to say please be nice, but I think STEMtastic is the word we are trying to disseminate. Please be STEMtastic to each other. To event hosts, please accord us as much grace as possible. We did try our best. I will also ask that we respect agenda times, and I will start by respecting that agenda time because I am dragging us behind. And then lastly, I will ask that we practice patience and humility. If you could give someone grace, please give them grace. All right. Who does not have access to the agenda just yet? Anybody? Wonderful. On screen, I have a QR code that you simply need to scan and you will have access to the agenda. I am going to keep it up there. And you have some time. Please scan it. If you're yet to receive the QR code, please scan it so you can access the agenda. All right. Because I said we had to set a beautiful tone for this event, I am going to ask the entertainment team to walk in for a quick performance. It is a 3-minute performance and nothing more. That is simply to get you energized, to get you really excited for this event before we break out and go either to the STEM village or to the workshops that are happening. Immediately after that performance, I will ask everybody to quickly exit the hall so we can organize it for one of the workshops that is happening in here. Entertainment team, just a moment. All right, the entertainment team is coming. I hope you're all ready to dance. All right, cover it. Thank you so much. What a performance. Let's give them a round of applause. All right, as we are wrapping up, where do we go? All right, we will have a number of workshops happening. We have IEEE Reach conducting a workshop on unlocking IEEE Reach, a practical tool for STEM engagement. That's being done in the room Simba and facilitated by Esther Mushe. Marian Karamagi. The second workshop is happening in Chui by SIL Global. The title of that is Supporting Early Readers Using Bloom and Alpha Tiles. That's being delivered by Ruth Munguti and Aaron Hemphill. The third workshop is happening in the room Ndovu. The title of it is Strategies for Addressing Common Place Value Errors in Foundational Learning, and that's being delivered by Zizi Afrique and Semastea. And last but not least is a workshop for our learners that's being delivered by the University of Nairobi, and that is called ASOP, African School Science Outreach Program. Demystifying Science Through Interactive STEMtastic Fun Activities by Dr. Esther Kanduma. All right, as I said earlier, the STEM Village will be running from 10 a.m., which it's already after 10 a.m., all the way to 5 p.m. If you're engaged in a workshop and are unable to attend at any point in time, worry not. You certainly will have some time during the day to visit the STEM Village. We will also have the workshops happening both in the morning and in the afternoon. So if you'd like to attend maybe 2 workshops and one of them is happening in the morning, so you're wondering if you'll be able to attend the afternoon one, worry not. There will be another workshop run in the afternoon for you to attend. All right, I would like to say thank you so much for joining us. And once again, I will go through my very interesting lists of welcome in very many languages as I ask all of us to please stand and exit the room. All right, I was told I could say Sangbonani to say welcome. Karibuni, have a STEMtastic week. And don't forget, our greeting of the week is STEMtastic good morning, STEMtastic good afternoon, STEMtastic. Wonderful. Let's say it together. STEMtastic. STEMtastic. And then the very last one, Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have been your host, Mary Effie Akinyi. All right, let's allow the honorable ministers to exit before the rest of us step out.
Union, apart from staff members of the African Union. Or should I put someone on the spot? There were hands up when I asked, so any volunteers on what the African Union stands for? Or should I put people on the spot now? Okay, sir, I feel like asking you what the African Union stands for.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barbara. Is it Barbara? That's fine. What I know about the African Union is an organization of countries that are based in the continent that have come together to build a common future. And in order to build that common future, they have put in place an agenda called African Union 2063. And on the basis of that, they're trying to roll out different strategies to make sure that this agenda is accomplished.
Thank you, sir. That is very right. I think, can we give him a round of applause, please? So the African Union consists of 55 African countries, and our role is to ensure that we are building the Africa that we want. It was established because we wanted to fight for freedom for our countries. And after freedom was won, we are now moving on to look at another kind of freedom, I call it. And that freedom is what we call the freedom to innovate. As Africa, we want to have the freedom to utilize innovation, science, and technology to be able to address most of the challenges that we have on the continent. And that's why I believe that these gatherings are very important. In the room today, we have the African Union. We have so many countries: Kenya, Eswatini, the Gambia, Mozambique, Mauritius, Liberia. Which countries am I missing? Malawi, Cameroon, Uganda, South Africa, Rwanda. Yes, so we have here, I mean, we could easily have an African Union summit because we have all the representatives here. And we are here to define for Africa what we want EdTech to look like. When we are talking about education technologies for our young people, what do we want that to look like? How should we move ahead as a continent together? How do we ensure that a child that is trained in South Africa would have the same access to EdTech as a child trained in the Gambia or Liberia or Eswatini? That's what we are working towards today. And in order to shape this discussion, I have the honor of welcoming to the podium the Honorable Minister. She's one of the most eloquent speakers I've ever engaged, and I always love to listen to her. You would love it at the end when she's done with her session. The Honorable Minister from Malawi, the Ministry of Education, who will be taking us through setting the context on why we are here and why we should be looking at an African vision for EdTech solutions across the continent. Madam Minister, we welcome you to give us the remarks for the session. Thank you.
Your Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, senior government officials, distinguished colleagues, experts, partners, and friends, I like to recognize those who, because of our history, cannot be here, but are the people that we purport to be representing. And that is our rural masses, majority of whom are women, whom we normally want when we are campaigning, but when we've crossed the line, we tell them to go sit in the kitchens and make sure they cook for us to attend more meetings where we can be more powerful. So for today, I want to dedicate my speech to the subaltern, to those whose voices never make it to gatherings in Nairobi. I think this is important because I know this is the first meeting for the EduTech fraternity. And the fact that you've managed to have this meeting, I want to start by congratulating everybody who's worked so hard. For me, the capacity to gather people together is what shows that your commitment is to level the playing field so that those who can't enter this room can get services. Because if you ask me, that is what government is about. It is about making sure that lived lives are of quality for everybody, not for the ruling elites, not for the few. Before I get into my speech, I do want to say every time I come to gatherings of sciences, maybe because I'm an academic from humanities, I always sit here and say, oh, so that's how the science world operates. But I must say, I've found that you are a group of sciences with a human face. And for me, that is what this is about. When we were growing up, there was a dichotomy between humanities and sciences. A dichotomy that I'm not afraid to say was used as a colonial tool. Sciences were made to look like the real thing and humanities as a talk shop. But I've come here and I'm seeing sciences done from a human perspective. And for me, that is what gives me a lot of pleasure. And I feel privileged to be here today participating in this pioneering moment for our continent. I wish to begin by congratulating Auda Nepad, the AIM Education Alliance, and our gracious hosts at STEMtastic for convening this important forum and for launching the draft African EdTech 2030 Vision Plan and Policy Framework. Before going far, I would like us to pronounce ourselves and say that Africa is the cradle for human invention, the center of gravity for 21st century development, and the source of capital, which is demanding investing of that same capital here. We are youthful, energetic, inquisitive, impatient to educate our masses and equip ourselves with the technology and innovation necessary to redefine our homegrown glory. I would like you, whenever I say masses, please see a bunch of women there. They are the majority. When we talk of masses, the masses have a gender. They are majority women and majority youth. So whatever we are doing, we are saying we are doing things unapologetically gendered and intergenerational. That is why the edu space is the keyword. because it transcends age, it transcends ability, it transcends gender. It actually destroys patriarchal spaces and allows everyone to participate, whether you are in the rural space or in the urban space. We are Africa, and we present the greatest opportunity ever for appropriate education technology to have impact at scale. Come and see what EdTech is already doing to transform education at scale in Malawi, Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, Rwanda, Cameroon. I think if you look at the face of Africa that is represented here, I've seen we have the Gambia. I know Mauritius. We have all the countries that are here. Eswatini is right here. And you know, when we mention one of the things that has always happened in mentioning African countries, which in the Western world are looked at as one country, even though we are 54, I also don't want us to leave out others. Because in the edu space, there's nothing like a big country. There are people. And one thing that we want in this continent is for every African country to know that it is African. Africa is made up of all of us. And leaving one is leaving the whole continent behind. I think what's happening in all these countries in Africa is something that we are saying, come and see. Things are happening. I stand here not to give a litany of challenges, but actually to chronicle a breath of fresh air from Africa. That when it comes to EdTech, we have taken to it like the way the duck takes to water, because we know it is a huge leveling of the playing field tool. It is what will help us fight elitist problems, de-eliticize the educational space, which is neatly linked to the governance space. Therefore, it was only right and timely for STEMtastic Adventures to come to Africa to support the STEM and EdTech momentum as we construct policy through practice and shape the vision with genuine reason. It was only right for AUDA-NEPAD, African governments, M Education Alliance, Speaks Foundation, and other partners to collaborate around a vision, mission, and commitment that is not business as usual for education. Therefore, the African EdTech 2030 vision, plan, and policy framework will not be just another mere strategy. It is a declaration of intent. I would like to underline, I'm using the word declaration well advisedly. In other words, this is not being used cosmetically. It's something that will be attained, and huge steps have already been taken. A bold step towards an Africa where every child, no matter where they live or how challenged physically or mentally they are, has access to high quality digital learning grounded in African values, languages, and contexts. And one of the major African values is what has already been mentioned here. It is Ubuntu. In my language, we call it Ubuntu. Go to South Africa, and the rest, they might call it Ubuntu. But to make it simple, all it says is we need to go far together and treat the other person the way you want to be treated. As simple as all that. Under Ubuntu, you cannot discover people. Because we come from a background where we had to be told we have been discovered. in the edu space, no one is discovering us. In fact, to a large extent, we are discovering ways to level the playing field. It's about discovering success together, not as a preserve of one person. This is what I've often drummed up for in my statements, that the village household be drawn close to the lecture room, to the classroom, such that the twain become one. This is what I meant when, as an African Union member states, this is what we meant when, as African member states, we declared the Africa Decade of Education. This is what transforming education, as agreed during the Transforming Education Summit at the United Nations General Assembly in 2022, means to us as Africa. Your Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, as Minister of Higher Education for Malawi, also representing my colleague, the Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, allow me to share a few reflections on how this vision resonates with our national priorities and why we see this framework not only as timely, but necessary. Malawi's vision for digital learning. In Malawi, honestly, you look at all that we are doing, our education system is undergoing profound transformation, and the broader, it is going through profound transformation through our digital learning strategy and the broader Malawi 2063 National Development Blueprint. We are prioritizing education within the human capital development enabler as the orchestra and backbone for inclusive economic growth and resilience. Yes, we face familiar challenges. Firstly, low levels of educational literacy and numeracy in early grades, which are determined to flip to less than 23% by 2030. Secondly, vast rural populations with limited access to learning materials, both physical books, practicals, and digital devices. Thirdly, the need for over 40,000 new qualified teachers by 2030. Fourthly, connectivity that is often intermittent, particularly in remote districts, with a target of connecting all public schools to the internet and increase internet access from 27.7% to 55% of the population by 2030. Fifthly, electricity access at 25%, and our target there is 70% by 2030. Sixth, the need to increase higher education access beyond the 5%, and the need for digital literacy for all Malawians. The goal is to create digital skills to build capacity in freelance tech, artificial intelligence, AI, and marketing, writing, and data services by 2030. Your Excellency, if you look at the goals we've set, some people might say you are very ambitious. From where I come from, under the leadership of Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera, we know that if you don't aim for the sky, you will never reach the treetops. What we've attained in the 3 years out of the 5 that government has been in place has had to be done, even though we had COVID for almost 2 years of the leadership. We've had cyclones, but from there, we've built quality, increased access, and we know these targets will be met. And our plea to our AU colleagues is, it's better to plan for ambitious projects, than to have the ambition to deepen poverty. When people say it's too expensive to invest in education, my answer is always easy. It's more expensive to invest in illiteracy. That one is even more expensive. And for countries that are challenged financially like us, it is better to use majority of your taxpayers' money in investing in education. Then you are saving money, rather than saying is too expensive. It is actually cheaper to spend more money, to invest in education, because it improves service delivery. It improves governance. Citizens who understand what government does are not going to expect government to bury their dead or MPs to be doing funerals, because they will know that's not their job. But as it is, we have not invested. We're expecting citizens to understand that which we have not taught them. So for me, and from where I come from, we are really investing. And by 2030, we're expecting 70% delivery in all the different things. We know the more people who have electricity, the better. That they will be able to study longer, they will be able to do experiments better, they will be able to do STEM in a much deeper way. To meet these challenges, we are embracing educational technology as an enabler, not as a luxury, not as a burden, but actually as a way to grow our economy and create wealth. Our education digitalization strategy focuses on 3 key pillars. Number 1, foundational learning, where we are scaling up use of tablets and offline content platforms in lower primary schools, that is in the early grade. The second pillar, teacher empowerment, where our universities, colleges, and schools of education are now embedding EdTech, specifically digital pedagogy and content curation, into teacher training. Thirdly, localized content development, where we are working with publishers, linguists, and technologists to develop curriculum aligned digital materials, including those in local languages, and ensuring accessibility and inclusivity. This work will culminate into an education cloud we call EduSpace. Additionally, we're expanding open, distance, and e-learning model in tertiary education. Within 2 years, we have experienced about 50% rise in enrollment in e-learning supported programs, allowing disadvantaged groups to have access to university and college education. Your Excellencies and distinguished colleagues, you can agree with me that these are not just Malawi's priorities. They are echoed in Auda NEPA's EdTech 2030 framework, particularly in its focus on teacher capacity, courseware development, digital public infrastructure, and governance alignment. EdTech as a leapfrogging opportunity is something that we are really looking at passionately. Africa has a unique opportunity to leapfrog, not only in connectivity, but also in digital citizenship, learning outcomes, or global skilling, because of the inevitable exponential technological advancement coupled with youthful population. Just as a mobile money has bypassed traditional banking infrastructure, digital education in Africa can overcome barriers that many developed countries still struggle to dismantle. Well, I have good news. I can see my friend is coming close to me. What I'll do is I'll just quickly summarize. I think for us, this meeting in Malawi was very, very key. So we had tried to also give you elaborate explanations on what we're doing, but I'll just quickly summarize. We are already seeing in Malawi where STEM will actually be, talk of the day, because for us, we really need to link with the rural spaces and make sure that the skill setting is done. We want to have, we want to have a situation where learners are able to solve complex problems. We are already having higher education, looking into how they can produce, tractors. How can they get into the health sector? Because at the end of the day, we want EdTech and even this STEM to be of use to the people in the village. They must understand that when we fly to come to Nairobi using their resources, we need to show what are we doing? How does this really solve their problems? So when they see us actually being able to say we are solving this problem, we're solving that problem. And I think in summary, what Malawi is saying is we are here to make sure that we scale up the best practices. The best practices don't just remain in Malawi. They must become an African culture, an African product. We must communicate that STEM is here to show the world that Africa, Malawi are open for business. We are not interested in being consumers. We want to be producers. We want to be the place that people come to in order to say, if you want a tablet, come to Malawi. It is being assembled there. If you want a tablet, go to Cameroon. And this will create jobs. This will create the indigenous knowledge that we have. For us, we are saying for STEM, it is here to stay, and Malawi has embraced it. We are taking it right from basic secondary school up to higher education and making sure that we communicate that we are able and we are technical. The tech thing is not being imported from the West. It is actually being given birth right from the global South. Thank you very much for listening.
Let's give the minister another clap. That all of us are starting here and we are going to rise to the top.
Thank you very much. I promised you that you would have one of the most eloquent speakers in the room, so I hope that you found that useful. I was taking notes as she spoke, and one thing that struck to me was that the fact that EdTech should not increase inequality on the continent, that the average African child should have access to these technologies. And that's what we are working towards here today with you. So now, before we start the panel sessions, we just want to have a brief welcome from the host Ministry of Education in Kenya. We are